Welcome to After the Poll, the video series where I take you on a journey through the realms of Marvel, DC, and independent comic books, and I share my thoughts and opinions. Except for those new number ones, if you guys want to check that out, that series is called Worthy Ones, where I cover all the newest issue 1 comic books, and again, that's on Thursdays. I'll leave that for you at the end of this one so you can watch it. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, and you've been watching for a while and you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so now. It's a lighter week this week, so, I had to cover some of last week's books that I did not read yet. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. Welcome to the realm of Marvel Comics, and the first 2 Marvel comics we're talking about, I read digitally this week because it was recommended to me, and I was like, all right, the show's not going to be that long this week anyway because there was very few comic books to come out. And the first one we're talking about is Daredevil issue 23. Now, the reason this was recommended to me was because Taskmaster is in this book. Taskmaster is one of my favorite B-villain characters. I love his power set. I love his battling skills. He looks badass, right? And so I was like, well, I haven't read Daredevil since issue 2, so will I be able to kind of follow what's going on? Yeah, I did, but man, this story is a little bit rough, let me tell you, because what's on the cover has nothing to do with what's going on in the comic book, right? There's some fungus creatures facing Matt Murdock on the cover. They're nowhere to be found in the comic. So that in itself is misleading. Now, I get that we get that in variant covers all the time, but we shouldn't get that when it comes to a main cover, right? So when it comes to this comic book also, we wind up getting to see Matt Murdock doing this investigation. He's with the police officer that he's working with, and he's working with Elektra. And Matt Murdock, it's even mentioned in here, he's acting like a high school kid, jealous that this cop is working with Elektra and it's long nights, right? It specifically says that in there. So Matt Murdock is jealous in the comic that, he's not with Elektra. But at the same time, he is dating some other chick. He's actually living with her. I guess it's a longtime flame, and her name is Neela Skin, right? And so it's kind of funny what happens in this comic, because it's just she knows that Matt Murdock is going out on the town and doing things late at night, and he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I won't do this again, and I won't lie to you. But within the same breath, he gets a phone call, and he goes out, and he is going out on a mission to face Taskmaster. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so bad. But the cool thing about this comic book, it's not all bad. The cool thing about this comic, though, is the battle between Taskmaster and Daredevil. Super cool. Taskmaster looks badass in this comic book. I really enjoyed the fight that happened, and then Elektra comes in by his side and starts fighting along him. So those elements were good, but the dialogue in the story itself was just really weak, in my opinion. I honestly don't really know what's been going on in the comics, so I can't really give it a fair grade overall because I haven't been following it. But if I had to grade this one issue, I'm gonna give it a C, because it was cheesy dialogue, but great fight scenes and decent artwork. So yeah, will I continue Daredevil going forward? No, because I feel like this was a one and done with Taskmaster in it. The next book we read digitally this week was Godzilla vs. Thor issue 1. So when it came to this comic book, I was like, no, I'm not going to pick it up because the last one wasn't that great, and I was tired of reading these one-shots. And of course I didn't pick it up, and I got multiple people in the comments and personally messaging me saying that, Mike, you need to read Godzilla vs. Thor. This is an epic book. This is one of the best books I read all year. And so I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, that's insane. Let me tell you this, if you are a Godzilla fan, right, and if you're a Thor fan, this is going to be an epic comic book, okay? I'm not the biggest Thor guy. I'm also not the biggest Godzilla guy. But this was a well-written comic book because it had all different story threads attached to it. Like, you got the archpriestess that's connected to the hand, right? And we had the last run of Punisher mentioned in here, how she tried to get the beast, the beast, or the fist of the beast, whatever it was, to rise, and he was a failure, mentioning the Punisher, which was in that run. We were mentioned the War of the Realms, the Necro Sword, Malekith, and so like Jason Aaron writes this comic book, so he obviously knows all this stuff that was going on in the lore of Thor, right? So this made for an epic book, and the action between Godzilla and Thor, again, was amazing. So for like a one and done story, this was really well done, and I would definitely recommend this one. Probably the best out of the Godzilla vs. Thor books in my personal opinion. I gave this one an A. All right, the next book we're talking about here, and these are now all physical books. This is X-Men. This is issue 19. This is a very much of an in-between issue of what's going on in the story arc, so you would say it's kind of filler. But Jed McKay wanted to make it a thing to make sure, okay, hey, listen, here is Doug. If you didn't know this, Doug is the heir to Apocalypse. And that series came out, God, was that last year when that series came out? I'm not 100% sure. You kind of get familiar with like everything that's been going on with him and how he's dealing with being the heir of Apocalypse and how he is going to be different from Apocalypse. He's also married to the chick that he met in Araco, which is Bay, the Blood Moon. So there's that going on, and he winds up getting attacked in his own home from a group by the name of One. So there was some decent action in here, but this was nothing, I felt, at least right now, that you needed to say, oh, I have to read this issue to understand what's going on within Scott Summers' team, right? So it looks like they'll eventually meet up, but I don't know. This one was okay for me, not a must read. So I gave this one a very average C. All right, the next book we're talking about is Holverine. This is issue 8. This book I recently picked up, I think, with issue 6, and I'm sad that I did not continue reading this from issue 1 because I heard from commenters that this is ending at issue 10. If this is correct, again, let me know in the comment section below. But this is a really fun book by Benjamin Percy, where I think he does Marvel horror really well. He's done Ghost Rider well, he's done Wolverine series well, and now he's doing this this Holverine series really awesome. And in this book, it opens up just as creepy, right? I mean, you got Holverine. How do you say his name now? Is it Kuro? I don't even know. I thought it was Daken, but now they call him like Kuro or something like that. And what happens is he's stuck in this pyramid. You got this creature that's trying to eat him, and then you wind up finding out that the kind of like the origin story of this Hell Hulk that has been created, and they've been acquiring all these pieces through the issues of the series, and they put together this Hell Hulk. And it was very interesting. And now when you unleash this Hulk, it's going to cause rage throughout the entire world, the United States, or whatever the case may be. But again, you get a lot of backstory in this book, and I would definitely recommend this series. If you haven't jumped on yet, I would definitely say pick this up in trade. This was a really fun book for me. I give this one an A. All right. The next one we're talking about is Ultimate Wolverine. This is issue 7. So since the beginning, we have been seeing Wolverine as the Winter Soldier, okay? He doesn't talk, he just destroys. And obviously, he was created that way, right? And in the last issue, we wind up seeing all his friends wind up trying to get him to remember who he was, get him out of the trance, whatever the case may be. They're successful in this series, and we finally get to see really good character moments between Wolverine and some of the other cast of characters like Kitty Pryde or Gambit or Beast and everybody else. And now you get to see the mission parameters, things that are happening, things that are moving along to stop the adversaries in this. You also get to see a little bit more of Omega Red. You wind up getting to see Magic on how evil she is in this alternate world. And it was really a lot of fun to read. And what happens is you wind up getting to see all the other characters in this comic book get their code names. And I thought that was really cool. And even though they're a group of characters, they have not gotten the team name yet. And it was good. I mean, I really enjoyed this comic book. This is the best Ultimate X-Men in my eyes. This is actually the best X-Men comic book in all of Marvel right now, based off of this issue, because that's what this is when I actually read it. This was a top pick for me from Marvel Comics this week. This one got an A+. All right, the next book is, I feel, a book that people like it or they hate it, and I like it, even though it didn't harp so much on Paul on this issue. This is the all-new Venom. This is issue 8. This series has been solid for me, right? I don't agree with Mary Jane being a symbiote, but it is what it is at this point, and obviously she's not going to be a symbiote, I don't think, forever. But you do get a wide cast of characters in this issue, which is kind of cool. You got great Carlos Gomez artwork, which pops, and the action flows off the pages. And when you get to see Doc Ock in here capture Rick Jones as he's trying to dissect his brain, and you wind up getting to see Mary Jane go after him and try to rescue him, that was a lot of fun in here as well. And we wind up seeing Venom, who is in danger, right? And Paul almost gives away the identity, and he's like, she can't get hurt. And Dylan's still trying to figure out who the Venom symbiote is, and he's like, what the hell's going on, right? So there's just a lot of crazy story elements going on in this comic, and I think it's well done. I think Al Ewing has a solid story here. Again, whether you agree that Mary Jane should be a symbiote or not, I think this is decent. This is not bad. I feel like this is way better in my eyes than the previous run that Al Ewing attempted with Eddie Brock being the next King in Black and being a time traveler like Kang. So this was solid. This was not my favorite issue of the bunch, but I gave this one a B. All right, and our next one last comic book that we're talking about when it comes to Marvel Comics, this is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 7. So this is the first time that Spider-Man goes against Hellgate. Now, we saw his first appearance in issue 1, drawn by John Romita Jr. So John Romita Jr. is drawing him here again, and this is the second issue out of 3 that Romita is doing the artwork here. Now, when it comes to the artwork in the comic book, listen, Romita is not my favorite artist. We all know that when it comes to Spider-Man books, especially after Pepe Larraz has jumped on the first 6 issues of this, and you totally get a different feel when it comes to this comic book, right? But with that being said, there's certain instances where the artwork in the comic book it's not bad, right? So there are some cool fight scenes here that happen where I was like, oh yeah, that's actually not bad, right? So overall, listen, there are some hits and misses within the comic book when it comes to his artwork. We wind up getting to see this character be introduced, who seems to know who Hellgate is and maybe his history, as he's warning people to get off of Staten Island. And we get to see just this long, drawn-out battle between these characters here. I do like the banter between Hellgate and Spider-Man as he's goofing with him. There's some crazy, new power that Spider-Man can do with his web shooters, where he can shoot them out and make the webbing exploding all over the place. I was kind of seeing this, I'm like, what is that right there? right? And he shoots these web cartridges and they explode. You know, it is what it is. Is it the best issue? No. Is it the worst issue? No. I've seen worse. And then we get some other character being introduced that's on a scooter too. So weird stuff that's going on in Amazing Spider-Man right now, but it's not the worst. And we'll see what the true purpose is of Hellgate. I wonder if he's the one that kind of splits up Spider-Man between him being one street level Spider-Man and one cosmic Spider-Man. I don't know. Time will tell. But yeah, when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man, I gave this one a C+. We got through Marvel Comics, and now you're in the realm of DC Comics. Unfortunately, only 2 DC comic books to talk about this week. And the first one is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. This is part 2, and this is issue 2 of the series. So when it comes to just a fun DC comic book, like, this is where it's at, right? You just get to see big kaiju beasts battling each other, and we get to see the Suicide Squad has their agenda as well. Amanda Waller's taking off the board in here, and the opening page of this comic book is great. I absolutely loved it, where we get to see Godzilla going against the Justice League here, and you get to see Batman in his own armor as well. So that was really a lot of fun, and you do get to see the Justice League trying not to fight Kong because they were partners with Kong in the last part, and they're trying to get him to calm down and try to remember things. But you get to see some epic battles here between Killer Croc and King Kong, and it was like so much fun, and just there's a lot of great moments in here. And they're also looking for Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor kind of lures Superman down into this cavern, and then there's all these other beasts at the end of the issue. So this book is good, man. It's just one of those like Elseworld stories. Just have fun with it, and I gave this one a solid B. Not too much to say about it, but if you like stories that, you know, want to shut your brain off for a little bit, that's the type of story that this is. All right, and then the next book we have here is Absolute Green Lantern. This is issue 4. We get a little bit more story progression in this issue as we get to see Joe Mullins on confrontation with Abin Sur, and you kind of get to see a little bit of like how she became the Green Lantern in this book. This artwork is so anime inspired, and if you like that artwork, you know, that's totally fine. I like it. I just think it's something different. I think that's what's so great about the Absolute Universe, is it gives you like a fresh spin on all the characters that you have known over the years. And if you like your traditional characters and you have no interest in this, then you can continue with that. But I think this is great for new readers, and I just love everything that this, you know, book has in store for it. And then you also learn about some of the other lanterns that supposedly are dead as well. There's so much untapped potential in this comic book, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. But just like, look at this 2-page spread. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. This is a great comic book. Again, I can't wait to see where this one goes. And we also get introduced to another character in this book, which I was like, oh wow, that's really awesome. So this was the top pick for me from DC. I gave this one an A+. And now you're entering the realm of the independent comics, and I think these are all comics that actually came out last week. If I'm mistaken, let me know in the comments below. And the first book we're talking about is Jump Scare issue 4, the conclusion. A lot of you guys agree with me that this is a solid series, and I wish this was something a little bit more, right? But nevertheless, this is the end for now when it comes to our main character by the name of Jump Scare, who has powers from horror pictures. And I actually love that concept, right? But she's been tasked to go after and rescue her sister, and in this issue you do definitely get to see that, and we get to see kind of like her full extent of her powers in here. And of course, does she prevail on finding her sister? Yeah, of course she does, right? I thought the ending could have been a little bit stronger in my eyes, right? But it does leave it a little bit more open-ended for maybe a second volume of this, and based off of everything that we have read when it's come to her parents, how they favor the younger sister, yeah, her parents haven't learned anything, and you'll have to read that to find out. But overall, this was a solid series, a good conclusion, maybe not the best conclusion, but I did really enjoy this, and this is something that my hat's off to Colin Bunn for writing. This is something completely different. I gave this one a solid B. The next book is a book that I was this close to dropping, and this is The Rockefellers, and this is issue 6. But based off of what happened in the last issue, we wind up getting to a reveal of the bounty hunter that was going after the family, right? And you found out who that person actually is, and you'll have to read it to find out. But in this comic book, we wind up seeing this eyeball that the family has been protecting all this time. It was taken by a bird, and it was in a nest for a week, and then it's caused all these problems. It's growing like all this crazy, like cybernetic things around it or whatever it is. And what happens is the next door neighbor is checking on them, and it latches itself onto the next door neighbor, and then all of a sudden there's just all kinds of chaos that happens within the house, and it's just hysterical. I absolutely loved it. Probably my favorite issue so far, because it's like a typical family a moment when, like, you know, one thing after another happens. It's like the snowball effect, right? Just an overall great and fun issue here. How it affects things going forward, I don't know. But again, the revelation of who the character is that is going after the Rockefellers, I think that's what makes this book, you know, really well done, or it's improving in my eyes. So I like this one. I was laughing. I gave that one a B. And then the last book we are talking about here is Assorted Crisis Events. This is issue 4. I think this came out last week. This one is done by Denise Camp, and these books are weird. This is like, again, the world is ending and people go through different situations. It's like an anthology book. And in this time around, it's about this guy whose life is just passing him before his eyes. Like, time just super flies by. And this book was very relatable, I think, for a lot of people. And for me, especially, because there's a time period in this person's life, excuse me, where he turns 50 years old, and he's kind of like, where did my life go by, right? So we kind of get to see the everyday life of this guy from when he was graduating high school to when he goes into college, to where he gets this job, and he has this friend, this roommate that he's living with, and he's like, time flies you by, and he's like, yeah, sure. And at the same time, while the story is going on, this guy, the main character, he's like smoking, he's a chain smoker. He smokes cigarette after cigarette after cigarette. And I feel like Denise Camp's like message here was, don't smoke because you're going to get lung cancer, right? Because that's what this focuses on. And the main character in this comic book gets lung cancer in the book, right? But again, you get to see everything that goes on through this guy's life. You just get to see like his marriage, his kids, his divorce, and before he knows it, he's this old man dying. And it's just like, it's sad in very many ways. And when the time he reaches 50 and he doesn't even realize it, it kind of hit me hard. I'm like, damn, like I'm 50. And I'm like, it just felt like yesterday, like my kids were born and my son is 18, you know? So this is like a real life thing, you know? So I actually really enjoyed this issue. And this was something that surprised me. And again, I think Denise Camp is hitting it pretty good when it comes to this series. I gave this one an A+. It was a top pick for me when it came to reading it. When I closed it, I was like, wow, that one hits hard.